Hi, and welcome back to Gavin's Sonex B. Well, as you can probably see already, the weather has got colder, and I'm out in the garage, and it's about -2 at the moment. I normally have the space heater running when I'm out in the garage, but of course, if I did that, you wouldn't be able to hear a word I'm saying, so I've turned it off. Today's all about changes, things that I'm not happy with, and things that I'm going to alter. And we'll start off with some parts that have arrived for the engine to continue on and complete the engine. As part of the installation of the turbocharger, there's an additional oil line which comes away from the engine and goes out to the turbocharger and then returns back to the engine again. And in that line, on the feed side to the turbocharger, Sonex in the manual suggests to add an oil filter, a remote oil filter. Now the one that they've chosen, or the style that they've chosen for the which is in the manual, is a sort of cartridge, standard cartridge style screw-in one, the type of thing you'd have on your garden tractor or car, which is a folded paper type canister. And of course, to use that, you've got to install the mating part, because obviously it isn't there, so you need a holder to screw the thing into. So I ordered one of those, and when it came, I was a bit concerned. Not concerned, but I didn't really like it. It's big and it's very heavy. I'll show you what I mean. So what I've got here is this is a fitting that will go onto the bulkhead, which is retained by three, or the firewall rather, retained by 3 bolts, and the oil goes in and the oil comes out, and you've got the canister oil filter on the bottom. I've just screwed in one of the Rotax ones from that I use for my other aircraft, exactly the same thing. Well, I weighed this, and it's about 650 grams, plus the oil that's going to go into it is going to bring it up to nearly 1 kilo. And for the Americans amongst you, about 2 pounds. And it seems excessive for what is a relatively, I mean, I assume that they're trying to filter out any small particles that are going to the turbocharger because of the oil bearings. So I looked around on the internet, and on the internet I found a company called TurboSmart, which are Australian, and of course the Australians love turbochargers on their V8 engines and things like that. TurboSmart actually make an inline oil filter specifically for turbochargers. So I ordered one of those, and it's arrived. And you may laugh at this, but here it is. It's this. It's an inline oil filter specifically for turbochargers. It has a 44 micron stainless steel washable cartridge inside, and basically you would take it out and clean it at the same intervals as you would do for the engine's oil filter. It weighs nothing. From what they say, it will do the job, and so I'm going to fit this rather than this, which I think is a little bit over the top. Of course, if my turbocharger packs up and I fall out of the sky, I'll have been wrong, but this is what I'm going to put on my aircraft. Anyway, so that's number one. Number two, these have arrived, and these are the aluminium weld-on barb connectors for the header tank on the turbo cooling system. See, turbo's causing a lot of issues, isn't it? So on my Chinese imported, I think it came from Hong Kong actually, Chinese imported header tank, it currently has quite skinny connections, and this is the same header tank that Sonex use, but they do this for you, but they also configure the in and out for the installation that they propose. Well, I'm not doing it like that. I'm doing something different. So these are weld-in barbs of a larger diameter than the ones that come as standard, so that it fits the same pipework that goes to the turbo radiator and everything else, and it will obviously maintain the flow rate around the system. So that's number two. That's come, so I've got to go off and take this off to the local welding guy and get him to cut the original ones off, drill them out and fit those for me. And the third thing that I've been umming and ahhing about for a while now is I'm not happy with the Aero Conversions throttle quadrants. Not because there's anything particularly wrong with them, but I'm used to using the pull in and out throttle on my Super Gepard that comes out through the instrument panel on both sides, and also I found that the positioning of the throttle quadrant, because I've got incredibly long arms, is not easy for me when I'm sitting actually in the aircraft, not easy for me to use. And by replicating a pull in and out style throttle through the instrument panel, it will give me some extra arm room. So that's what I'm going to try and do, and I'm going to cheat because I don't want to have to remake loads of stuff. So I've come up with a kind of sly and cunning plan, and I'll tell you all about it in a second. Just to refresh your memory, this is what a Aero Conversions throttle quadrant looks like. It's aluminium. This one is for dual operation, so it has two cables that go to it. One cable is the throttle cable, which goes to the goes to the aero injector, and the other cable goes around behind the instrument panel to a secondary one of these on the right hand side of the cockpit for the passenger. Anyway, I've been umming and ahhing about this and thinking long and hard about how to go about doing this, and I think I've come up with a novel and relatively simple mod to do, which utilizes all the parts that we've already got and only requires a couple of extra bits to make it work. So we'll see. I'll show you in a few moments. More later. So on the right hand side you can see where the Aero Conversions throttle quadrant fits on the passenger side, and the lever and knob come up just above the rail on the right hand side there. I've got the one for this side here, and it would normally go there like that. What I'm proposing to do is to actually utilize the hole that's in this bracket, which is for the mixture control. I'm going to have to relocate the mixture control somewhere else. Make an identical bracket, only in reverse, for the other side, because the one on the other side is not the same. So I'll just make another one of those. I've got enough spare aluminium extrusion which was supplied in the kit to do that. And then what I'm hoping to do is to use the throttle quadrant and all the gear that goes with it, remove the knob, and basically fit the throttle quadrant at the rear of the instrument panel, well, behind the instrument panel, probably about 6 inches behind the instrument panel, and then have a rod which passes through the hole in the bracket and connects to the hole where the knob of the throttle quadrant is, basically, so that as you pull and push it, it will operate. Now you'll notice I've got this completely round the wrong way at the moment, before anybody tells me. The reason for that is I'm going to have to reverse the parts on this to make this work. So I need to put, it's difficult to explain. What I'll do is I'll take it upstairs and I'll take it apart and show you what I'm going to do. But basically I'm going to make it so that it effectively is like that, only with the adjuster on the bottom side and the arm on the top side. That's a good picture of my hand. So that's what I intend to do. It will use all the same components, just in a slightly different configuration. Plus I've ordered a rod end, a stainless steel rod, and a bearing to go through the bracket there for the rod to go through the bracket, and some black threaded balls to go on the end. And we'll see how that works out. It could be rubbish, it could be brilliant. In order to do it, I'm also going to have to strengthen up the bottom of the instrument panel that I've got there. This is the bottom of the instrument panel. Now normally the instrument panel is all in one piece, so the instrument panel would come down, go around a 90-degree bend back, and then a small 90-degree bend there. I decided I wanted to make my instrument panel so that I could remove it. So I've used a hinge across the bottom with withdrawable pins so that I can release it, and then round the top I've got captive nuts all the way around there, and special stainless steel bolts to go around there as well. But this is not the most rigid thing in the universe, so in order for it to not to bend, I'm going to modify this one and make it a bit stronger to take the load. So I'm going to go inside in the warm. Still very cold in here despite the heater, and I'll show you basically what I'm going to do. The parts have all been ordered and they should be here over the next week or so, and then I'll show you what I'm going to do, how I'm going to do it, and we'll see whether it's any good. If it isn't, go back to plan A. More later. So here we are, back inside in the warm. I've had my cup of coffee, my hands are nice and warm now. It's very cold outside. My God, I look like I've been dragged through a hedge backwards. I did brush my hair this morning, but so back to this. So throttle quadrant. If you look at it, let me just stand this up round kind of the right way. Let's turn the camera around. Here's the part that goes across the bottom of the instrument panel with its brackets on. And here's the throttle quadrant. And as you can see, it goes nicely there, but what I wanted to do was not have it project down quite so far with the cables, and also have the adjustment knob on the other side, on the lower side, so that we can actually adjust it without that much problem. So what I propose to do is this. So I'm going to take it apart, and first thing that's coming off is the knob at the top, which is relatively easy to do. So here comes the knob off the top. Could have used that knob, apart from the fact that I've got no idea what thread that is. It's a very coarse thread. If anybody's got the answer, let me know. It could be UNC. I don't have any UNC taps or dies, so it would make it difficult to do. And then undo the knob on, whoa, drop it on the floor, and then remove the throttle arm assembly, and then we're left with this bracket. Now the bracket's in two pieces and it's actually bolted together with two bolts. So what I propose to do is to take the bolts out, a bit like this. I'll do it as quickly as I can because my editing technique is not good. So you've got two parts like, can't really show you, there we go. Two parts like that, and then I'm going to flip this one up the other way. And I've got two other bolts, because now it's not countersunk anymore, and screw those in. You can now see what I've spent the last couple of days messing about with. And so now it looks the same. However, the writing is now on the inside. So it's actually, it used to come out this way and now it goes that way. So we need the knob off the floor. Do excuse me. There it is. The brake, or I don't know what you'd call it, it basically has a big fibre washer kind of thing, which is used to adjust the resistance of the lever. So the more you tighten up this knob, the harder it is to move the lever. But there's a part on the top which locks into the plate, so that's got to be reversed as well. So just take that out, flip it over, pop the bolt back in, trying not to lose all the parts, and then it should just go back on there, and we've got ourselves a throttle quadrant again, only it's back to front. Oh, I forgot to put the cable fixings back in. Hold on, don't fall apart. Let's just put the cable fixings back in. Then pop it back together. And the last thing to do is just to pop the adjustment knob back on. So now we have a throttle quadrant that works, and if I tighten it up, it's now able to be adjusted. So we'll take this and see how that fits. So there you can see the hole that we're going to utilise for our throttle control going in and out, and that has got to push the arm of this one backwards and forwards. So now we've reversed it, it will sit up this way at the back over here. So let's just put it in the idle position. So when it's in the idle position, it'll be somewhere around there with the bar pulled all the way back. So how are we going to do that? A good question. The actual assembly is quite flexible, so what I'm proposing to do is to actually fit a, let's go wide, is to fit an angle along the back edge. I think it's that one there. So this one is going to, it's too long at the moment, so I can't actually fit it all the way in, but you'll get an idea of what I'm proposing to do. So if I cannot get it all in, it's very difficult to do stuff with one hand, I've come to the conclusion. So basically this angle is going to sit all the way along there, and that will give a lot of stiffness to this, it effectively turns it into a U, if you imagine the panel coming down here. So it'll be a lot stronger. And then I'm proposing to use a piece of fairly heavy duty 25mm section, angle section, chop about 60mm off of one face so that it'll sit up underneath and slide in all the way across underneath, where it can be riveted into position. And then this one will effectively sit on it behind and be bolted through with countersunk bolts going through from this face downwards. That's my plan. To do that on the other side, I've basically got to do the same thing, but these two brackets are different. So I need to recreate a right-hand version of that bracket to go on the other side. Luckily, Sonex supplied some extra extrusion, which is what this was made out of originally. So it's a relatively easy job just to cut it out and drill it up, and then fit it on this side. I have to put in a couple of different holes, but basically it's almost identical, just comes out this way a little bit further. And so that's what I'm going to do. So over the next week or so, I shall busy away and make the parts, drill all the holes. It'll give me something to do in here whilst it's bloody cold outside. And some more parts might arrive, and when I get the enthusiasm up, I will go and try and finish off the turbo oil system and get those push rods put in properly, and that's the engine then buttoned up really. So that's all for today, and I'll speak to you all again soon, more later.